You will lose hope and your smile if you skip this video, because I'm going to show you how to actually achieve your goals. Not through burnout or pressure, but through joy. I'm a business owner and a psychologist, and I lived my life through this. And what I have learned is this: if your path to success steals your peace, you are chasing the wrong version of success. We live in a world that glorifies stress. The people who is smiling while chasing their dreams, they don't just live better, they win longer. So let's talk about psychology behind achieving your goals with smile. Most people think that motivation comes from discipline, but neuroscience shows that it starts from dopamine. Every time you imagine your goal, your brain releases some dopamine. But when that reward feels too far away, your brain shuts down the motivation entirely. That's why we need to reframe our motivational system. Instead of chasing massive end goal, I will be happy when I make $1 million. Break it into smaller rewards. I'm proud that I worked 2 hours deeply today. Your brain loves progress, not a perfection. When you attach joy to the process, you just stay motivated longer. Smiling during your journey is not only emotional, it's neurological. It tells your brain, this is safe, this is working, keep going. So next time you catch yourself grinding without joy, pause. Smile intentionally. You are reprogramming your brain for a long-term consistency. The most productive people in the world, from artists to CEOs, achieve their best work in what psychology calls flow state. It's that beautiful zone where your actions feel effortless, time disappears and creativity peaks. But here's the secret: you can't enter the flow state if you're anxious or self-critical. The entry point to flow state is relaxed concentration, a playful seriousness. So how do you find it? Remove all distractions, one goal at a time. Match a challenge to your skill level. Not too easy, not too overwhelming. Reward yourself with joy and peace. When you approach your goal with a sense of play, you build what I call productive peace. You are still serious about your dreams, but not heavy about them. Smile, laugh at your mistakes, celebrate your growth. That's not naive, that's flow psychology in action. Your thoughts define your emotional world. When you feel anxious about your goals, I will never make it. Your body reacts with control, tension and anxiety. But if you reframe that same thought, I am challenged right now and this is growth. Your brain releases dopamine and serotonin instead. Same situation, different chemistry. That's a cognitive reframing, the most powerful tool in psychology. That mental judo that turns fear into fuel. When you're smiling at a difficult moment, you are not pretending. You are taking back control of your internal dialogue. A smile tells your nervous system, I am safe. And only when you feel safe, your prefrontal cortex, the part that's responsible for focus and creativity, actually turns on. So if you're chasing your dream and feel overwhelmed, breathe, reframe and smile. Because it's not the enemy. Your perception of it is. We live in an era of push harder, but the truth is self-compassion creates more energy than self-criticism ever will. Studies from Stanford psychologist Christian Neff shows that people who practice self-compassion are more resilient, are more consistent and less likely to give up after a failure. Because when you treat yourself with kindness, your brain feels safe to try again. Smile at your small steps, forgive your bad days. Success built on self-hate collapses, but success built on compassion lasts. When you chase the dream with love for yourself, not punishment, you became unstoppable. You keep saying, one day I will start my business, one day I will fix my sleep, one day I will work out.
One day.
But here's the truth. You are not lazy, you are psychologically trapped. I'm a business owner and a psychologist, and I lived my life through this. And if you've been waiting to be ready to start your own life, you might wait forever. So today I will show you 5 psychological traps.
This is what I want to be, but it's slipping away. Maybe tomorrow I'll start. Where'd I even begin? Distractions lure me, but long-term goals fade. I must choose now.
That make people delay their dreams. and how to break free from them. Your brain tricks you into thinking, I need more time, I need more skills, and I need more confidence before you act. But this is a lie. You gain clarity through action, not before it. Every successful person was started unprepared, but they started. This illusion of readiness is your brain's way to protect you from uncertainty. Your subconscious thinks, if I will wait, I can avoid failure. But waiting is a failure. To break it, make a messy action your new standard. Don't say I'll do that when I'm ready. Say I'll do that now and it will make me ready. Comfort is a silent killer of your dreams. Psychologically, your brain prefers safety instead of success. That's why every time you try to change your routine, your brain resists. The discomfort loop looks like this: discomfort, hesitation, avoidance, temporary relief, and regret. And this becomes addictive. You start chasing temporary peace instead of long-term success. To escape it, redefine comfort itself. Your new comfort zone should be progress instead of pleasure. Find calm inside discomfort and your brain will follow your lead. Most people never outgrow their old identity. If you deep down believe, I'm not the type to succeed, your brain will sabotage any behavior that contradicts that belief. You can outwork the identity built on self-doubt. That's why shadow work, journaling, and personal therapy is so powerful.
I can no longer avoid this part of me. I embrace my shadow, and it becomes one with me. I am whole now.
They help you rewrite narrative of who you are. Who told me that I cannot become that person that I wanna be? And who will benefit if I stay small? Remember, identity is not fixed. It's a skill you build daily. Scrolling through other people's highlight reels tricks your mind into hopelessness. Your brain compares your chapter to someone else's epilogue. From a psychological perspective, constant comparison activates shame, one of the most paralyzing emotions of pursuing your dreams. It kills motivation and creates learned helplessness. So stop comparing timelines. You are not behind. You are just on your own chapter. Protect your mental focus like it's sacred. Replace comparison with curiosity. Ask what I can learn from them instead of why I'm not them. Modern life hijacks your reward system. Short-term dopamine from scrolling, porn, or constant entertainment rewires your brain to expect instant gratification. The result? You can't feel satisfaction from long-term goals anymore. To reverse it, use your dopamine strategically. Track your goals visually. Your dopamine system loves that. Reward small wins, not only your milestones. Replace mindless pleasure with mindful reward, like workouts, journaling, or meditation. You don't need to quit dopamine. You need to retrain it to work for you, not against you. You don't need another year to start your life. You need a decision right now. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for readiness.
Why must I wait to be alive? No more permission. No more waiting.
Because every person who make it was once exactly when you are now. Today I will show you 6 traps that stop people from growing, and more importantly, how to escape each one. If you understand this, you will move faster than 95% of people there. Let's start. One of the most dangerous illusions in self-improvement is waiting for the perfect moment. People tell themselves, once I'm ready, I'll do that. But that moment never comes. In psychology, that comes from fear of judgment and perfectionism, a defense mechanism against failure. We overplan because deep down we're scared of imperfection. But the truth is, growth doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being consistent. Think about this. Every person you admire started messy. The first product, the first video, the first move, all it was rough. But while everyone was waiting for the perfect plan, they were building momentum. How to escape that? Take action before you feel ready. Progress creates clarity. You learn by doing, not by overthinking. Remember, done is better than perfect. This one quietly kills motivation. You scroll online, you see someone doing better at your age, having more, achieving more, and suddenly you feel behind. In psychology, this is called social comparison theory. We naturally measure our worth by comparing to others' success. But the truth is, comparison blinds you on your own journey. When you focus on someone else's chapter 20 while you are still on chapter 3, you stop writing your own journey. Every person's timing is unique. Some bloom early, someone later. But success always comes to one who is consistent. How to escape it? Measure progress against your past self. Look back 6 months. Are you stronger, wiser, and more focused? That's your real metric. Growth isn't about being better than them. It's about being better than you were yesterday. Overthinking feels productive, but it actually disguised procrastination. Your brain is wired to avoid risks and pain, so it creates endless scenarios to keep you safe. But in doing so, it paralyzes you. As a psychologist, I see this constantly. People mistake thinking for progress. They analyze, plan, watch motivational videos, but never execute, because every possible what if creates another reason to delay. How to escape that? You must switch from thought-based living to action-based living. Ask yourself, what's that one small step that I can do right now? Then do it immediately without a debate. The moment you start action, the fear starts to disappear. Remember, confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after action. Remember, growth often feels boring. The gym, reading, journaling, working on your craft feels repetitive. Your dopamine-driven brain hates that repetition. It craves novelty, stimulation, and instant results. That's why people jump between goals, chasing short-term excitement instead of long-term mastery. But mastery isn't built on excitement, it's built on discipline. How to escape that? Redefine boredom. Boredom is not a signal to quit, it's a sign that your brain is rewiring itself for the consistency. Every rep in the gym, every page read, every early morning compound quietly. The most successful people don't chase motivation. They build systems that keep them consistent even without motivation. When you grow, your environment changes, and sometimes people around you don't understand your path. So you isolate, you're trying to carry weight alone. But here's the truth, no one was succeeding in isolation. In business and psychology, people are wired to the social reinforcement. When you surround yourself with ambitious people, your brain normalizes growth. When you surround yourself with comfort seekers, your brain normalizes stagnation. How to escape that? Build a circle that inspires you, not drains you. Find mentors, community, or even friend who shares your mindset. When you grow together, the journey stops feeling lonely. It becomes a mission. This one hurts the most because it sits in you quietly. Even when you succeed, it whispers that you don't deserve it. In psychology, we call this imposter syndrome. The belief that your success is luck, not your system. But self-doubt is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you are expanding. You feel it only when you step outside your comfort zone. And now I will say how to escape that. Start collecting evidence of your wins. Write down what you have achieved, no matter how small. Remind yourself you are not lucky. You are growing, and growth often feels uncomfortable before it feels right. You are not lazy, you are not broken. The people who reach their potential, they are not smarter, more talented or luckier. They've just learned how to remove what's in the way. So in this video I will show you 4 different things that's stopping from reaching your full potential and how to break free from them. Let's get into it. Most people don't really know what they are capable of because they never stopped to see themselves clearly. You can't fix what you can't see. Self-awareness is the foundation of growth. Yet many people live on autopilot, reacting, scrolling, chasing approval, repeating habits that sabotage them. To reach your potential, you must face your truth. Journaling, therapy, meditation, they are not trends, there are tools for self-observation. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What patterns repeating in my life? What am I afraid of losing if I'm actually going to succeed? Awareness doesn't feel good at first. It's like shining a light into your darkest room. But once you see the patterns, you are able to change them. That's how growth begins. Not by adding more, but removing what blinds you. Fear of failure is not about being afraid to fall. It's about being afraid how you look when you fail. We tie our identity to perfection. You think if we fail, it means that we are a failure. But that's false. Every successful person you admire, from Steve Jobs to Michael Jordan, have failed more times than most people ever tried. The truth is, fear doesn't disappear. You just stop letting it drive. You reframe it from threat to teacher. Next time fear shows up, ask, what is this fear is trying to protect me from? What would I do if a failure isn't an option? Start seeing failure as a data, not a defect. Each failure gives you feedback that sharpens your aim. The only failure is standing still, protecting your ego instead of developing new skills. Motivation is spark, but consistency is the engine. And here's the thing. The consistency isn't about working harder. It's about building systems that makes right actions automatic. Most people fail not because they can't do the work, but because they try to rely on emotion instead of structure. If you work only when you feel like it, you will lose every time. Start with structure. Goal calendar. Break your bigger goal into small daily achievable actions. Habit stacking. Attach your old habits to the new ones. Attach new habits to the old ones. Meditate after brushing your teeth. Journal after waking up and track progress. Small wins create a momentum. Just remember, consistency compounds. It's not massive actions that change your life. It's a small ones repeated daily, even when no one is watching. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. If you surround yourself with people who chase mediocrity, you'll start believing that's normal. But growth requires fiction. Being around those who challenge you and expand you. Ask yourself, what drains my energy? Who pushes me forward? What kind of person do I become when I'm with them? You can't soar if your surroundings pull you back to the ground. Sometimes you outgrow environment before you outgrow yourself, and that's painful but necessary. Change your space, change your pace. Read new books, join new groups, get mentors and listen to the voices, because your potential blooms in which soil you put yourself. Before I played games every day and I had goals, big ones, dreams that kept me awake at night. But slowly I noticed something strange. I was working less, thinking less, and worrying less. And I told myself I'm just relaxing. I will go back to it tomorrow. Tomorrow became months. This video isn't about blaming game. It's about the psychology, why we escape into games every day, and how that escape kills our potential. So if you ever said just one more game and then wondered where motivation went, this video is for you. Let's talk about dopamine, the brain feel-good chemical. Every achievement, every reward, every win releases a burst of dopamine. Games are designed to trigger this instantly, with level, points, progress bars, and rewards that your brain interprets as a real accomplishment. But here's the problem. Real goals like starting a business, building a body, or learning a new skill release dopamine slowly. They require patience. So when your brain gets used to instant dopamine hits, it begins rejecting slower rewards. That's why studying, improving yourself, or working starts to feel boring. Not because it is, but because your brain's reward system overstimulated. The first step to reclaiming your goals is simple but powerful. Reset your dopamine baseline. Limit gaming time. Take dopamine fast and expose yourself to the joy of real-world progress. It's not about quitting games. It's about regaining control over your motivation system. Here's the truth. Most people don't play games just for fun. They play to escape reality, to avoid stress, responsibility, and avoid discomfort. Psychology calls this avoidance coping. It gives temporary relief, but it strengthens the very problem of why you are trying to escape. When I was stuck in that loop, I wasn't lazy. I was just avoiding a pain of failure. In game, I could just restart. In real life, it hurt. So my brain chose the easy world, one where I had control, achievements, and no real risk. The fix is the real challenges in real world. The moment you start confront reality, even in small doses, your brain begins to associate real growth with satisfaction again. Start with small wins, complete one task, go to the gym one time, make one difficult phone call. Each real action rebuilds your psychological strength. When you spend hours gaming, your brain starts identifying as a player, someone reacting to the world, not creating it. But true fulfillment comes from creation, not consumption, from building, not just playing. As a psychologist, I learned that changing behavior often associates with changing your identity. Stop saying I'm addicted to games. Start saying I'm a person who starts making real progress. Identity is like a compass. Once it shifts, your behavior follows instantly. You don't have to give up games completely. Just rebalance who is in charge. Use the same passion, focus and strategy from gaming, but apply it to real life. Turn your goals into levels, your habits into quests, your progress into XP. Suddenly, life becomes the most interesting game in the world. The goal isn't to quit all pleasure. It's about building healthy relationship with it. In psychology, there is a concept called flow state, when challenges meets skill and you lose yourself in a deep focus. Games give us that feeling easily, but you can reach the same state in real life when you are coding, writing, training, or building your dreams. The secret is to make your work feel like a game. Set clear goals, track progress visually, reward yourself after completing challenges. When you create structure and the feedback, your brain releases the same dopamine, but this time for the actions that really builds your future. That psychology of fulfillment, joy through growth, not escape. You didn't choose to be average. You are designed to be. From work to school, from media to social interaction. Everything around you teaches you how to fit in, not to stand out. So, let's talk about psychology, why you became so average. And more importantly, how to break free from it. From a psychological perspective, your brain doesn't seek pleasure. It seeks for the safety. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, your brain rewards with a small dopamine hit. It says, good job, you are safe, but comfort is addictive. It builds invisible walls around your potential. You stop pushing boundaries, you stop living this life. Society reinforces you to be in a comfort zone. You get praised for stability, not for the growth. Don't take risks, don't fail, just be realistic. It's a common word of society. And slowly you internalize that voice. To escape that, you must associate growth with reward instead of safety. You need to retrain your brain to crave discomfort, because that's where evolution happens. If you feel uncomfortable chasing something, it's a sign that you are growing. We define ourselves by what others reflect to us. It's called looking glass self in psychology. The problem is that you're surrounded by people who mirror mediocrity. If your friends are fine with being okay, your brain adjusts to this level. Your subconscious just says, it's normal. We mimic emotional and behavioral patterns of all people that surround us. It's called social conformity bias. It's why even ambitious people slow down when their environment not pushing them. If you want to rise above average, you have to upgrade your environment. Find people who make you uncomfortable, not because they judge you, but because they remind you that you can do more. Remember, your brain is plastic. It adapts to your surroundings. So choose environment that forces evolution. Average people care too much about being liked, but psychology shows that approval-seeking behavior activates the same structure as a real danger. Your fear of being different. It's because your brain equates rejection with death. A leftover instinct from being excluded meant not surviving in tribes. That's why people hide their dreams, mute their opinions, and live life designed to fit in. Here's the truth. Being misunderstood is a part of being original. You cannot evolve if you need everyone to approve of you. Reprogram this by practicing micro-rebellion, doing small things that gain social approval, like saying no when it's uncomfortable or expressing your opinion openly. Each act rewires your brain to tolerate discomfort, the same way you'd build muscle in a gym. Most people think they will chase their dreams later. Psychologically, this is called temporal discounting. Your brain undervalues long-term reward in favor of short-term comfort. I will start a gym next week. I will launch my business when I'm ready. These are cognitive lies that your brain tells you to maintain equilibrium. But every time you delay, your identity shifts toward narrow pathway from around procrastination. And before you know it, inaction becomes your identity. You can break free from it by shifting your timeline. Act in immediacy mode. If something takes less than 5 minutes, do it immediately. Momentum is the antidote to being average. Small, consistent daily actions rewire your brain's reward system to associate movement with satisfaction. The final reason you became so average is that you lost your why. Purpose isn't something you find. It's something you build, brick by brick, through experiences, reflection and responsibility. In psychology, we call this self-determination theory. The need for autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Without it, you drift. People who don't have deep why eventually collapse into routine. They become emotionally numb, constantly chasing surface-level dopamine, likes, attention, money, because their deeper needs are unmet. The cure isn't motivational speech. It's a direction. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I can contribute or build that would still matter 10 years from now? Then make everyday small vote towards that vision. That's how you rise above average. Not overnight, but inevitably. No matter how much I've achieved, the feeling didn't go away. That quiet sense that something is missing. It was like standing in front of a mirror and feeling that I wasn't quite complete. And the more I tried to fix it, to define myself, to improve myself, the emptier it felt. Because here's the paradox. The harder you search for yourself, the more lost you become. I didn't realize it then, because I turned finding myself into a full-time job. Even new idea became a newer task. Every new method finally became my new way to prove that it's enough. But what I was really doing, I was running away from the silence. I thought I was chasing meaning, but I was avoiding stillness. And stillness is where the truth hides. There is a term in psychology that's called identity loop. It's when you try to create certainty about who you are. But in doing that, you actually create anxiety. Because every identity you build is fragile. You say, I'm productive until I burn out. You say, I am spiritual until you get angry. You say, I'm successful until the numbers go down.
What is happening? I won't let this define me.
And every time one of those images break, you feel lost again. So you rebuild it, stronger, tighter, shinier. And the loop continues. This isn't just psychological, it's spiritual. Every time you tell yourself who I am, you are reinforcing the idea that you are not already here. And that subtle belief, I am incomplete, is what fuels entire self-help industry. I've seen this even in businesses. Entrepreneurs say that when they build a company, they will be fulfilled. But when the company succeeds, the goalpost moves again. The success becomes a new baseline, and fulfillment stays out of reach. Because your mind only knows how to measure. It doesn't know how to rest. The spiritual world isn't that different. People meditate for 10 years chasing enlightenment, only to realize the chasing act is creating a distance. You can't achieve peace. You can only notice that it was there entire time. The truth is, you can find yourself when you are trying to be someone else. And that's most of us do, until there is no space just to exist. There was a morning that changed everything for me. I woke up exhausted, not physically, but mentally. I was tired from thinking how to figure all out, tired of journaling my thoughts.
I can't do this anymore. I'm so tired. Okay.
Tracking my habits, forcing every moment to have a meaning. So I did something simple. I went outside, sat down and did nothing. No meditation, no mindfulness, just sitting. And for the first time, I noticed how my mind was loud, constantly narrating, judging, planning and evaluating. But beneath all the noise, there was something still and silent, a space I never noticed before. And in that space, there was a peace. Not the kind of peace that you get after achieving a goal, but the peace that's already there, once the need to search disappears. That moment taught me something psychology, spiritually, and businesses all agree on. The moment you stop chasing control, real transformation begins. Psychology says that transformation isn't something physical. It's an ongoing process, a pattern your mind uses to organize experience. But spirituality says that you are not the pattern. You are the awareness watching it. And when you finally understand that, you stop identifying with the noise. You realize that behind every label, behind every success or failure, there is something untouched and constant. Call it consciousness, presence, soul. It doesn't matter what name you use. It's the same silence watching every unfold. Even in business, the same rule applies. The best flow states, the ones where you're deeply creative, fully alive, happens when you stop forcing results and let the awareness guide action. That's not detachment, that's alignment. You don't become less ambitious, you just stop believing that ambition is what defines you. But once you see who you truly are, was never missing. You can finally create, lead and live without fear. The day I stopped searching for myself, I started living and find the meaning in this. I began to enjoy small things again. The texture of sound, the feeling of walking.
I'm done searching.
The stillness between thoughts. Nothing around me changed. I didn't suddenly become enlightened, but my perspective did. I stopped trying to define myself and started experiencing myself. And strangely, that makes everything clearer. My goals, my relationships, my dreams.
I see it now. The path is clear. No longer a mystery, just execution.
Everything became lighter, more honest and achievable. That's the paradox of awareness. When you stop trying to become more, you naturally start becoming whole.
I can no longer avoid this part of me. I embrace my shadow, and it becomes one with me. I am whole now.
Spirituality calls it surrender. Psychology calls that self-acceptance. Businesses calls it flow. But all they mean the same thing. Letting go of the false idea that you are not enough until something else happens. For years I optimized everything. habits, traits, routines, productivity, and mindset. I thought I was building discipline, but slowly I was losing peace. And one day I recognized something uncomfortable. Self-improvement can quietly turn into self-rejection. So let's talk about where it goes wrong and how to fix it. At first, self-improvement feels empowering. You read books, track habits, fix weaknesses. But over time, something shifts. Your inner voice stops saying, I want to grow, and instead of this, starts saying, I'm not enough. Psychologically, this is dangerous, to be honest. Your brain begins to associate your current self with failure. Every moment becomes a comparison with a better version of you. And the result, chronic dissatisfaction. You improve, but you never feel satisfied. Solution: shift from self-correction to self-respect. Ask, I'm improving because I hate who I am or because I value myself enough to grow. Growth should come from curiosity, not punishment. If your process feels heavy, judgmental, and shame-driven, something is wrong. Constant self-improvement keeps your nervous system in evaluation mode. There's always something to optimize, something to fix, something to improve. From psychological perspective, it creates low-grade chronic stress. Your mind never feels done. Even rest becomes productive. Am I resting correctly? Am I recovering efficiently? That's not rest. That's control disguised as self-improvement. Over time, this leads to burnout, anxiety, and emotional numbness. Solution: you need non-instrumental time. Time with no purpose, no tracking, no benefit. Sit, walk, breathe, not to improve, but to exist. Your brain needs moments where nothing is required from you. That's where integration happens. Here's the paradox. The more you chase the better self, the more you disconnect from a real one. You start living accordingly to your ideals. The disciplined one, the productive one, the spiritual one. But psychology tells us, when identity becomes rigid, authenticity disappears. You stop asking, what do I feel? And start asking, what should I feel? That creates inner conflict. Inner conflict kills clarity. The solution is simple. Replace identity goals with values. Instead of I must be disciplined, ask, what kind of person do I want to be in this moment? Values are flexible. Identities is a prison. Growth works when it adapts to life, not when life bends to it. This is the saddest cost. People start self-improvement to feel alive, but eventually they postpone happiness. I will enjoy life when I'm better, when I'm healed, when I'm successful. But psychologically, your brain don't work like that. If joy always postponed, it becomes unfamiliar, and unfamiliar emotions feel unsafe. So even when you make it, the peace doesn't arrive. Solution: reconnect joy to the process, not outcome. Celebrate effort, smile at imperfections. Let progress coexist with appreciation. You don't grow after happiness, you grow through it. And I lived through this myself. I did the habits, I hit the goals, I improved constantly, and yet something was missing. Let's talk about why. Emptiness doesn't mean you are broken. It usually means you are misaligned. Psychology shows this clearly. You can optimize behavior while neglecting meaning. You can succeed externally while disconnecting internally. So let's break down why emptiness appears, even when life looks correct. Most people build their lives around performance, productivity, discipline, results, and performance works until it replaces presence. Psychologically, when your worth tied to progress, to output, your nervous system never relaxes. You are always measuring. Am I doing enough? Am I improving fast enough? Am I becoming better? This creates a quiet anxiety beneath success. You stop experiencing life and start managing it. And emptiness shows up as a warning. You are functioning but not feeling. What to do? Shift moments of your day from doing to being. Not to improve, not to fix, just to feel. Presence is not laziness. It's a psychological nourishment. Here's a hard truth. Some people use self-improvement to escape who they are. They don't grow with themselves, they grow away from themselves. Every flaw becomes a problem. Every emotion becomes something to fix. Every pause becomes guilt. From a psychological perspective, this creates internal rejection. You're improving, but subtly telling yourself, who am I right now, is not acceptable. That measure creates emptiness, because the self cannot thrive where isn't accepted. What to do? Growth must include acceptance. You don't evolve by erasing yourself. You evolve when you're integrating yourself. Ask, can I grow without hating where I am? That question changes everything. Goals give direction, but meaning gives depth. Psychologically shows that growth without meaning leads to emotional flatness. You hit milestones, but nothing lands. You move forward, but don't feel fulfilled. Why? Because goals answer what? Meaning answers why. If your goals build on comparison, fear, emptiness is inevitable. What to do? Revisit the purpose behind your effort, not the outcome, the reason. Ask, if no one saw this, would it still matter to me? If the answer is no, emptiness is trying to redirect you. This is the quiet trap. I will be happy when I'm healed, I will rest when I'm successful, I will enjoy life when I'm arrived. But psychologically, your brain learns by repetition. If the joy always postponed, it becomes unfamiliar, and unfamiliar emotions feels unsafe. So even when you succeed, joy doesn't show up. Emptiness appears because your nervous system forgot how to receive satisfaction. What to do? Reconnect joy to the process, not as a reward, as a companion. Joy is not a finish line, it's a fuel. Emptiness isn't telling you to quit, it's telling you to realign. You don't need to do more, you need to listen deeper. Loneliness at this stage isn't random. It's not a weakness, it's not an ingratitude. It's a psychological side of growth that nobody talks about. Let's break it down. When you change deeply, your inner world shifts first. Your values change, your priorities change, your tolerance for noise, drama, stagnation disappears. But people around you may still live in a previous reality where you came from. Psychology calls this asynchronous development, when one person evolves faster than their environment. And here's a painful part. You can still be surrounded by people and feel unseen, because connection isn't about proximity, it's about shared meaning. You don't feel lonely because you are alone. You feel lonely because you don't speak the same internal language. But what helps? This phase isn't permanent, but it requires courage to seek aligned connection, not familiar comfort. As you become more successful, people start reacting to your image, not your inner world. They admire you, they respect you, but they stop meeting you emotionally. Some feel intimidated, some project expectations, some assume you don't need support. Psychologically, this creates role isolation. You no longer seen one of us, you are seen the strong one. And strength ironically makes vulnerability stronger. But what helps in this situation? You must consciously choose when you are a human, not impressive. Depth comes from a place where performance is unnecessary. Here's a subtle trap. The more successful you appear, the less permission you have to struggle openly. You don't want to disappoint. You don't want to look ungrateful. You don't want to break image others rely on. So you edit yourself. But psychology is clear. Unexpressed emotion turns into isolation. You don't feel lonely because no one is around. You feel lonely because no one knows you anymore. And I was thinking, what can help in this situation? Real connection requires selective vulnerability. Not with everyone, but with the right few. You don't need to be understood by many. You need to be known by someone. Growth teaches self-reliance, but taken too far, self-reliance turns into withdrawal. You stop asking for help, you stop learning, you stop sharing uncertainty. Psychology calls this defensive independence, when autonomy becomes your armor, and armor protects but also isolates. What helps? The independence. The ability to be strong and open, capable and connected. The balance where mature fulfillment lives. Loneliness at the top doesn't mean something goes wrong. It means something is changed. You didn't lose connections, you outgrow all type of them. And the next step isn't going backward. It's a step towards your fulfilling life and subscription on this channel. Press like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your favorite book or your favorite celebrity. So let's grow together. Have a good flight, fam!